ॐ ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। हरिः ओम्. So, the last week we saw Karma Yoga, right? And what we have seen is that Krishna in the Gita has said, Etu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Teshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. Bhavamina chirat partha maya veshita chetasam. So he says, Mayi aveshita chetasam. A mind that is fully soaked in me, right? Fully fixed on me. Now, if we are able to develop a mind which is fully soaked and fixed on the Lord, where we think of the Lord 24/7, if you're able to get that, reach that mind, get that mind, then he says, I will take care of it. Right? Teshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. So now the whole of spiritual life, the whole of spiritual sadhana, according to Gita, boils down to this: how to develop this mind which is thinking about the Lord, which is completely engaged with the Lord 24/7. Mayi aveshita chetasam. So that Mayi aveshita chetasam is the keyword. Now, how to get that? For that, Krishna says, Etu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Right? So, two steps or two aspects, he says. One is karma yoga, that is bhakti yoga sahita karma yoga. And the other one is jnana yoga sahita karma yoga. Bhakti yoga sahita jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, right? So, basically, karma yoga, which is soaked in bhakti, and dhyana yoga, meditation, which is soaked in bhakti. So, Krishna's or Gita's ways of meditation is not a secular meditation where you watch the breath, count the breath, do mindfulness, compassion meditation. No, those are all secular ways of meditation. Krishna says, yes, they work, but what Krishna advocates in Gita is meditation along with bhakti, right? So meditation upon the Lord is what he advocates. That's what he recommends. So now our entire life we can divide into two. One is the time of meditation. The other one is the other times, rest of the time. So the time of meditation, when we are meditating, at that time we meditate upon the Lord, and rest of the time we do all our activities as an offering to God. So karma yoga outside the puja room or outside the time of puja, and meditation upon the Lord inside the puja room while during puja or meditation. So these two aspects of life is what we saw in the 12th chapter, 6th shloka. Etu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyeneva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Right? So that is what even Swami Vivekananda also has put it as the motto of Ramakrishna mission as Atmano Mokshartam Jagat Hitayacha. Right? So this two lines in this shloka is what is presented as Atmano Mokshartam Jagat Hitayacha. Right? So the first line is Jagat Hitayacha, the second line is Atmano Mokshartam. So now last week we saw how to do karma yoga as recommended by Gita. So today and tomorrow we will see how to do meditation. What is Dhyana yoga as recommended by Gita, right? So let us enter. Let us look at this. Let me share the screen. So we will see some selected shlokas from Gita to understand what is Gita's perspective of meditation in a much deeper way. And it is beautiful and surprising that Gita gives such a detailed explanation of meditation, instructions, all that. So today we'll look at some selected shlokas, mostly from the 6th chapter, and maybe some other time we will go through the entire 6th chapter also, verse by verse, which is worth studying. 6th chapter is a very important chapter. Right? So before proceeding further, first let us see what is dhyana, right? What is meditation? Meditation is related thoughts, right? So a continuous flow of related thoughts as a pure mental activity. That is the definition for meditation. Continuous flow of related thoughts as a purely mental activity, right? So sajatiya pratyaya pravaha. So that is the definition given. So it should be a related thoughts, right? And it can be a value meditation, right? We can say, today I'm going to meditate upon the benefits of truth, of speaking the truth. And you can analyze it mentally, thoroughly, right? Or it can be a manasa puja, right? You can do panchopachara puja or even shodasopachara puja completely mentally, right? Imagining the Lord sitting in the heart, we can do the puja. Or it can be, you can chant a stotra, meditating upon its meaning, right, mentally. Or it can be lila dhyana, right? You can start saying, today I'm going to meditate upon uh, the saying Ramayana, right? So you can start with, Dasharatha was the king of Ayodhya, right? He had 3 wives, he didn't have children, he did Putra Kamishti Yaga, 4 children were born, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna. Vishwamitra came asking for them. Like, you can, the entire Ramayana story till Pattabhisheka, you can mentally, you can go through the entire Ramayana story. That is called Leela Dhyana, right? As long as it is continuously engaging in related thoughts, and it should be a purely mental activity, not even any movement of lips or tongue. And even if you're doing japa as meditation, like, you usually don't use a mala also, or no counting also, right? So basically, like, because counting and mala also is a physical activity. So as when you say dhyana, dhyana is when absolutely there is no physical engagement for this activity. Of course, breathing will keep going on, right, as per the Prakriti's nature of the body, but then no voluntary physical activity. That is what is dhyana. Okay. So now, what are the purposes of dhyana? Let us understand before we get into the actual process. Right. Now, we have seen that in a given situation, when we act or when we decide, do an action, most of the time it just happens automatically, right? So the decisions of what to do in a situation is taken at a subconscious level. So the free will that we have is only to reprogram our subconscious so that the decisions are made in line with our values, right? So decisions are made in the subconscious level, but we have the freedom to program our subconscious mind to build the right samskaras so that the decisions are correct. Now, which has to be done in a calm way during other time. Like there's a proverb, right? Like we cannot dig a well when the house is on fire, right? So at the time of a crisis or at the time of even a situation, at that time we cannot do analysis. At that time we cannot do too much of thinking, and we cannot make a too much of a conscious activity at that time. So often we will have to make decisions which are instantaneous, which come straight from the subconscious. And so it is better that we reprogram the subconscious so that the value system that we want to follow is deeply ingrained into the system, so that even without we consciously deciding, the mind subconsciously will decide the right thing, which is in line with our value system. And this is also particularly important at the time of death, right? In the end of the seventh chapter, Krishna says, like how that at the end of the death, end of the life, at the point of death, prayana kale api, right? A person thinks about the Lord, and whatever we think at the time of death, that decides the gati, what happens after that. So it is important for us to think about the Lord at the last moment of death, and at that time, at the last moment of life, at that time we cannot have conscious control over the mind. Subconscious would have already taken over. So unless we have already reprogrammed our subconscious mind to think about the Lord 24/7, at the time of death, we will not be able to think about the Lord, right? So the eighth chapter, Krishna says, like while living, you ensure that you constantly engage your mind with noble thoughts, thoughts of the Lord, so that at the time of death, when you have no conscious control over your mind, your subconscious automatically thinks about the Lord. Okay. So meditation is a process by which we can reprogram and reorient our subconscious mind so that it is in line with our value system and it always thinks about the Lord. Right? So this is one important purpose of meditation, where we push our intellectual understanding, intellectual conviction into the subconscious so that it affects a change in behavior and attitude, right? So Swami Paramarthananji puts it in a very nice way. He says conversion of intellectual conviction into emotional strength. That's what he defines nididhyasana as, right? The purpose of nididhyasana or meditation, dhyana. Meditation, dhyana are techniques. Nididhyasana is one of the results, right? So conversion of intellectual conviction into emotional strength, or you can say like our whatever understanding which we have, to ensure that that reflects in our behavior and attitude, that can be affected by meditation. So this is one of the very, very important purposes of meditation. Then we have a wrong opinion that happiness comes from people, objects, and situations. Now, this is the cause of all sorrow. So, we have to get over this wrong understanding or wrong belief that our happiness comes from people, objects, and situations. Now, we know very well that every day we go to sleep, right? And in our deep sleep, we experience joy, right? Everyone enjoys deep sleep. No one says, "Oh, I suffered sleep." Everyone says, "I enjoyed sleep," right? And in deep sleep, there is no contact of the sense organs with the sense objects. Now, that itself is a convincing proof that happiness does not come from sense objects. Happiness comes from within, right? So, hap- now meditation is another way, right, where even consciously we are able to experience happiness, pleasure, which is very, very tangible without any contact with the sense organs, or even without any contact with situations or people, right? Or even any other goal or achievement or nothing, right? Without any of those things, meditation is able to give us a joy which is tangible, right? Buddhi grahyam atindriyam. That's what sixth chapter says, right? It says ati sukham, like you get a very a great sukha in the mind, right? Which is buddhi grahyam, which is very, very tangible and which can be experienced by the mind, but it is atindriyam. It is not, which is completely independent of the senses, right? Now, this joy, right, that sukham, which is buddhi grahyam atindriyam, can be experienced during meditation. And that will give us a first hand experience that we don't depend upon people, objects, and situations for happiness. And so, this will help us to develop vairagya, and it will help us to control our mind. It will help us to not get carried away by situations, not to get tempted by sense objects. So it is going to give us that strength, give us that conviction, right? And this is another purpose of meditation, right? Of course, to reach the Lord, we have to go even beyond this sukham which we get, right? So we have to, what is this is called as bhajanananda, right? From Vishayananda, we shift to bhajanananda, and after that, from bhajanananda, we have to go to atmananda. So we have to get over this dependence upon meditation also, right? So we have to get beyond this also. But then, right, this is a very important step where we use meditation to get over this attachment to Vishayananda, right? So meditation has this important purpose. And so we get to, we basically, we get to the conviction that there are a lot more in life. There is a lot more happiness and pleasure which is greater than what any sense organ can give, right? So this, and then another purpose of meditation is what Patanjali says, right? Chitta vritti nirodha, he says, right? So by meditation, the mind quietens to such a extent that it is like a clear lake where we can see the bottom, right? So the mind is often compared to a turbulent, muddy lake, right? There is a lake and it is muddy and it is turbulent. Now, first we need to remove the mud from the lake so that it becomes transparent, and that is done by Karma Yoga. And then we need to quieten the lake so that the turbulence is stopped. That is done through Dhyana Yoga. So when the water is made clear and when the turbulence is controlled, now we can see through the lake to the bottom, where at the bottom of the lake we see the our real self, which is our real identity, and that knowledge of our real nature will free us from all sorrow, right? So that way meditation is a very, very important sadhana for the to become a Jivan Mukta, right, for moksha, liberation. So this is another important purpose of meditation, right? So these are at least three important purposes of meditation, right? One is to reprogram the subconscious mind, and second one is to develop the conviction that joy comes from within. We don't depend upon people, objects, and situations for our happiness, right? And third is that meditation quietens the mind so that we can able to see the truth of who am I, right? Now, having understood this purpose of meditation, right, let us see what is the practice of meditation, or right now we need to choose a spiritual practice. So when you say practice of meditation, again there are two parts to it. One is what we do within the puja room or at the time of meditation, and then one which is outside the time of meditation. We need to lead a meditation conducive life to be able to meditate, right? We cannot say, okay, lead any kind of, do whatever you want during the 23.5 hours, and then half an hour you sit and your mind will settle down and meditate. That is not possible, right? So your entire life should be meditation conducive. Then the half an hour or 1 hour when you sit for meditation will be fruitful, right? So first let us see what is it that you do in brief, what is it that you do in the half an hour of time of meditation. So for that you need to first choose a spiritual practice which you don't change for a few years, right? Any spiritual practice which you follow at least for a year or 2 years, 3 years it might take for you to see the benefit. So you should not change it frequently. So when you say choose a spiritual practice, what does it mean? The most important thing is to choose a Ishta Devata. So if you already have taken initiation from a guru, the guru would have given you the spiritual practice, right? He would have given you an Ishta Devata. So you follow that. But if you have not yet taken initiation from a guru, then you can choose an Ishta Devata, whichever deity whom you like, or whichever deity your family traditionally worships, right? You can choose, right? So choose a Ishta Devata. It can be Vishnu, Shiva, whichever form of Krishna or Devi or like Hanumanji, any Ishta Devata, whatever, right, has been given by your guru, or whatever you have a preference for, or whatever your family has been traditionally following. Now, after choosing an Ishta Devata, you choose a mantra or a name which is related to your Ishta Devata, right? Again, here again, like if you have taken initiation from a guru, the guru would have given you, right? And if you have not yet taken initiation, then you choose any of the standard mantras or names which are related to your Ishta Devata. So if your Ishta Devata is Vishnu or Rama or Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, right? That is a mantra given by Narada to Dhruva, right? You can choose that. Or Narayana, Narayana, right? Om Namo Narayanaya. So Om Namo Narayanaya was what Narada gave to Prahalada. Or, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, which is called Mahamantra, which was popularized by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, right? So, like these mantras are there. Or if you have chosen Shiva as your Ishta Devata, then Om Namah Shivaya, right? So like this, depending upon what deity you have taken, or you can even take the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, right? Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugantim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanat Nrityor Mukshiya Mamdatat, right? If you are worshipping Shiva. So like this, there are so many mantras which are there, and choose pick whatever is suitable for your constant chanting. And often, if you have taken initiation from a guru, the guru would have told you that this mantra should not be chanted loudly, or you should not disclose this mantra to anyone. So you have to maintain a certain sense of secrecy so that there is a sanctity in it, right? And then if you have taken diksha from a guru, like the guru would have also given you the procedure for your daily spiritual sadhana. You follow that. If you have not yet taken diksha from a guru, then you basically, every spiritual practice, that is the procedure which you do, right, contains of three aspects. One is physical puja, verbal chanting, and mental meditation. So physical, verbal, and mental, right? So we saw in the 12th chapter, we saw Krishna says, do meditation. If you are not able to do meditation, do chanting. If you are not able to do chanting, then do puja. So Krishna told these three aspects, right? So to be on the safer side, we always say, okay, like, let us not assume that our mind will immediately sit for meditation. So we always do some minimal puja. Puja can be as simple as, lighting a lamp, putting some flowers, right? And then sitting, right? That's it. So some puja, some chanting, right? You can pick up some stotra for loud chanting. And then after that, you sit for meditation, which is purely mental activity. So puja, chanting, meditation, this is the three aspects of any spiritual practice which you want to sit and do. So once you have finalized these, right, this you do morning and evening, we will see. So now your entire 24 hours of the day should be related to dhyana, which is called dhyana yoga, which is basically a meditation conducive lifestyle, right? Now, how do you do that? First is, the moment when you wake up, you start chanting your nama or mantra, right? So the moment you know you are awake, even before opening your eyes, right? Even before opening your eyes, like when you are sleeping, you are not aware of anything. Now, when you wake up, you are aware that, yes, I am there, I am lying down like this, right? Now, start chanting. The moment you become self-aware, the moment you, even before opening your eyes, right, start chanting your mantra first. Then you can open your eyes, then you can get out of your bed, do whatever, right? But before opening your eyes also, start chanting, right? Then before breakfast, right, do your spiritual practice, right? So it is better that you link it to your breakfast and dinner, so that it is you will never miss it, right? The best time to do the spiritual practice is morning and evening, right? So morning 5:30 to 7:30, during that gap, and evening again 5:30 to 7:30 during that gap, right? So these are the two times which is considered as the best time for doing the spiritual practice. Now, if you're able to stick to that time, very good. But if you're not able to stick to that time, at least say that before anything solid goes into my mouth, I will do my spiritual practice, right? No, no japa, no food. Simple, right? So before breakfast, right, you do. And also anytime during the day, if you are eating anything, link it to your japa. You say that before I eat anything, drinking water or coffee or tea or any snacks or anything that enters your mouth, right, chant your mantra a few times, then only you eat. So that way, whatever you eat becomes prasada. And then we do a lot of things where we don't need our entire attention, right? Brushing the teeth, bathing, cooking, walking, all those times, fill the mind with your japa. The rest of the mind, right? All the free cycles, fill it with your japa. So no idle thoughts, right? No idle thoughts in the mind. Fill everything by your mantra chanting. Okay. Now, the example given in the tradition is how they take an elephant through the bazaar, right? So often they allow to take an elephant through the bazaar, and you would have seen that they will always give a stick or a chain or something to the elephant's trunk. It will keep on rotating that and playing with that as it keeps walking. Now, if they don't give that, then the elephant will start grabbing things from around using its trunk. It cannot keep its trunk idle, right? So, our mind is very similar, right? So, just like how the Mahout gives a chain or a stick to the trunk of the elephant, similarly, you use the mantra or name so that all your idle cycles are filled with the mantra, right? Then again, evening before dinner, sit and do your spiritual practice again. Again, no japa, no food, right? And while going to sleep also, the moment you have lied down and you have decided, okay, fine, now I'll go to sleep, you have closed your eyes, now start chanting your japa. Keep chanting your japa so that without your knowledge, you drift into your sleep while chanting, right? So this is what is called as Dhyana Yoga, right? If we follow this for a few years, then we will be able to achieve that goal of Mayi Aveshita Chetasam, right? So also to strengthen this, we do go for a spiritual sadhana, right? A spiritual retreat, right? So every 2-3 months, take 1 or 2 days off for a full-time spiritual practice, and every year you take a week or two for full-time spiritual sadhana. Lot of ashrams, lot of places, they offer these kind of things, right? For example, for the particularly for the devotees of Ramakrishna Math, like there are every month there will be spiritual retreats in various centers. Even tomorrow there is a spiritual retreat in Ramakrishna Math from morning 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Half day spiritual retreat is there, right? And every year there are multiple batches of 5-day spiritual retreat conducted by Advaita Ashram Mayavati, right? That is there, and now even Shyamlatal Ashram also has started 5-day spiritual retreats, and lot of ashrams, both of Ramakrishna Mission, Arshavidya, Chinmaya Mission, right? Like whichever tradition you are associated with, they will have monthly spiritual retreats, monthly 1-day spiritual retreats or half-day spiritual retreats, and yearly 1 week spiritual retreat, right? So, or even if there is no specific retreat, you are always, there are so many ashrams, they are all welcome to spiritual aspirants to spend a day or two or a week in completely for dedicated for spiritual sadhana. So the infrastructure is there all over India, right? All over India, there are so many places where this infrastructure for spiritual retreat is given, either as individually or as groups, right? Either you can go by your own or you can join retreats which are there. So now that will strengthen your spiritual sadhana, that is needed for giving a push to your spiritual sadhana, right? So now this is what is called as Dhyana Yoga, right? Now this is what Sri Ram Krishna puts it in a very nice way. He says, Vane, Kone, Mane. Vane means the spiritual retreat, right? Like a day in a month or a week in a year, you go for a spiritual full-time spiritual retreat. That is Vane, in the forest. Then every day, morning and evening, in a corner of your house, Kone, you sit and do japa. Right? Sit and do your spiritual practice. That is Kone. And then Mane is rest of the time in your mind you do japa, constant chanting of japa. And all three are needed, right? And all the three, they keep reinforcing each other, they strengthen each other. So all the three are needed for a complete, wholesome spiritual life. This is what is Dhyana Yoga. Now, this is done parallel to Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga you do, and along with that, you do this also, right? You do your daily duties, take care of your family, do your professional work, do social service, do everything as an offering to the Lord, and do this also. So this Karma Yoga and Dhyana Yoga together, right? If you do, then it is assured that your mind will always be engaged with the Lord, Mayi Aveshita Chetasam. And if you follow this lifestyle, Krishna says, Teshamaham Samudharta Mrityu Samsara Sagarat. I will take care of you. Now, so Gita gives a very, very clear-cut sadhana. There is no ambiguity. What to do is very, very clearly given, right? So, any questions so far? So, let us take a break. Let us answer any questions and then we can get back further.
Gogul, hi Gogul.
Yes.
I have a question.
Hmm.
See, this, I keep hearing the same, thing that happiness comes from within, and
Hmm.
we mistakenly think that from outside world we don't
Hmm.
get. But
Hmm.
see the, experience that we have. Let's say
Hmm.
I, suddenly, let's say,
Hello.
I'm not
We,
getting it.
yeah. I'm not. Vishutosh ji, like we missed a few seconds. Can you repeat?
Yeah. So I'm. This is about
Hmm.
the happiness from
Hmm.
where the source of happiness comes, whether it is
Huh. Huh.
internal or external, right?
Hmm.
So let's talk about some mundane experiences.
Okay. Fine. And understood.
Okay.
I understood your question. Right. I'll explain to you.
Yeah.
So, so let us say you eat a laddu. Okay. You eat a laddu and you get happiness out of the taste of the laddu. So, doesn't happiness come from laddu? Now, let us see. Suppose happiness comes from the laddu. Now, first laddu should be giving you some happiness. Second laddu should give the same happiness. More laddu should give you more happiness. But what is our experience? The first laddu gives on some amount of experience, happiness. Second laddu gives less happiness. Third laddu you eat, still less happiness. Then after that you will say, no, enough. If someone says, no, you should eat fourth laddu, you will say, please, I don't want it. I don't want to eat it. Okay. So as more and more, if you have, the amount of happiness keeps going down. Number one. Second thing, suppose happiness is there in the laddu, then everyone should feel the same happiness by eating the same laddu. But what happens? A person who loves laddu, he gets more happiness out of that laddu. But there can be another person who likes only khara, right? He doesn't enjoy the laddu. Or there might be a person who doesn't like any besan sweets, who likes only milk sweets. So now he gets more happiness out of having some sandesh, and he hates laddu, right? I know people who hate laddu, right? They don't like any besan based sweets. So some person likes the same laddu gives some amount of happiness to some person and some amount of happiness to another person. When you're hungry, the laddu gives more happiness than when your stomach is full. Or even the same laddu, even if you like the food a lot, even if you are very hungry, right? And even if you are a great, what do you call, your laddu is your most favorite food. But then when that same laddu is offered as the during Shraddha of a person who is dear to you, now that laddu does not give you happiness, right? As a Shraddha food. Now, how can you say happiness comes from the laddu with all these variations, right? Understood. And
Yeah,
this can be
yeah,
applied to everything in life, right? Everything in life, this logic applies. So, what Vedanta says is the happiness which is got out of anything in life comes not from the object, but because temporarily your mind stops desiring for the object. Desire is sorrow. Desire is just another name for sorrow, right? It's a pain, right? Every desire is a pain. Now, when you have desire towards an object, there is a pain, and the mind is extrovert, right? Desiring for objects. Now, when you get the object of desire, temporarily, for a moment, the mind stops the desire because the object is got, because the desired object is got. The mind, for a moment, stops the desire and turns inward, and it is able to experience the joy which comes from within, because the mind has turned inward for a moment because of the desired object is got, and the mind mistakes that joy which is got from within, that it got it from outside. Okay, so Anand Maharaj told the dog bone story that day, right? So there was a dog and it found a bone, and Paramahansa puts in a very nice way. It was a dry bone, and how dry was the bone? It was bone dry, right? Like, so the bone was so dry that there was absolutely no flesh or blood in that bone at all. It was a dry bone. Now the dog took the bone and it bit the bone. And when the dog bit the bone cracked. And the pieces of the bone, cracked bone, they pricked the dog's mouth, and the dog's mouth started bleeding. And the dog tasted the blood. Now the dog thought, before I bit the bone, I did not taste blood. After I bit the bone, I am tasting blood now. So the blood has come from the bone, and I am enjoying the taste of the bone. And the dog bit the bone further, and the bone pricked the dog's mouth further, and more blood came. Then the dog was fully convinced. The more I bite, the more I'm able to taste blood, right? Now, this is exactly what happens when we get pleasure or happiness out of something. And even according to neurobiology, neuroscience, right? What gives you pleasure? It is dopamine. The dopamine neurotransmitter in the brain is what gives you pleasure. It doesn't come from outside. It is just a chemical which gets in your brain. That's it. That is what. So pleasure, happiness doesn't lie outside. It is from the dopamine in your brain. Now, the external object, external situation, whatever it is only a trigger for the brain to secrete dopamine neurotransmitter and you feel pleasure. And it doesn't lie outside. And by meditation, willfully, you can trigger dopamine secretion in the brain. It is under your control. By meditation, you can do it just by thought. And you get exactly the same pleasure, same happiness, what you get from anything, any object outside. Because ultimately, like, pleasure comes not from the object, it comes from the dopamine. Right? Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphin. There are the neurotransmitters because of which you have this experience of happiness. And it is entirely within the brain only. It has been proven scientifically. And by meditation, you can trigger that without any help from anything outside.
So Gokul, nice. Very important points you have actually made here. So, but initially what you mentioned was, see, I understand that, I unnecessarily am ascribing the source to the external thing, and there is a law of diminishing return from the external object. That's okay. But see this, then you mentioned also that the moment, like my desire, gets met, I become, desireless, and then I go interior, and from there I get that happiness. So getting interior for even a non-spiritual man who just met his desire by having a good car or watching a good movie, how do you relate that to the dopamine effect in the brain? So is it because dopamine has increased that he is getting happiness, or is it because his mind has become interiorized and that's why he has become happy?
Both are same. See, both are same. Both happen, right? The dopamine also gets secreted and the mind also gets introverted, right? Both happen.
Okay.
And both are actually the same. Like, it is just that one is a more scientific way of putting it. The other one is putting it in a in the language of meditation, right? Or psychology.
So any spiritual exercise, let's say bhakti or karma, people when they do sincerely, they do get happiness. So for all these actions, you are saying that there is a dopamine effect or some oxytocin or something will come out for every spiritual activity.
Yes. Any experience of happiness comes only see, basically a correlation, right? What is the cause? What is the effect? That is always controversy. But every happiness, right, is correlated with dopamine in the brain. There is absolutely, like, the cause may be different. One person might, the dopamine might get triggered because he's watching some movie. Another person's dopamine might get triggered because he's eating an ice cream. Another person because he got a new car. Another person because he got a promotion in his job. Another person because he's sat and did meditation. But what happens in the brain is dopamine, irrespective of what the source is.
Okay. So for a non-spiritual man who has no, inclination for spiritual things, who is an atheist, and even he doesn't believe in Buddhism also, and he's a very materialistic guy, and one of his materialistic ambitions gets fulfilled, he gets desireless for a moment.
Yes.
So unknown to him, he becomes spiritual for a moment. Is it like his mind gets internal, and then he gets that happiness?
See, it all depends on how you define spiritual. See, I would say everyone is spiritual, right? There is no person who is not spiritual, because everyone believes in free will, right? When you say free will, free from what? Free from any external influences, right? So the moment you say I believe in free will, so you are already spiritual, because you are saying I am an independent entity, independent of the physical body. The moment you say I am an independent person, different from the physical body, you are spiritual. So if you believe in free will, you are spiritual. Understand? So it all depends on how you define spiritual, of course. But irrespective of what the person is, the cause of happiness is always the same. It comes from within, not from outside.
Gokul, I have a question.
1 second. Let us finish with Vishutosh ji. So you are fine.
Yeah, good, fine. Thank you. I mean, you
Okay.
have made actually very remarkable points. Something to ponder about now.
Yes, right. Like this is what is Vedanta, right? And Anand Maharaj, every class he keeps telling this, telling this. The dog bone story is a very, very important illustration given in Vedanta by almost all the teachers.
Right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. Yes, Umaji. Yeah.
Yes, I think the pleasure part of it is basically perspective, but we are given the five sense organs, right? And it is extra. It is designed to be extroverted. Now you're saying the pleasure can be, my perspective can be there. How do you and it's so connected with pain also, right? So I perceive pain, and my mind cannot emit dopamine when I'm really having pain, ear pain or eye. So how do you go past that? Because it's pleasure can be subjective, it can be explained, but pain can people go beyond that
No,
and
pain also same.
have dopamine during that
Yeah,
time?
yeah. See, pain also same. Pain comes because of cortisol, right? There's another chemical called cortisol. So whenever cortisol is gets secreted in the brain, then you feel pain. Now the pain can be because of some toothache, or because of a heartbreak, or because of a failure. Like whatever be the source of your pain, whether it is physical or psychological or whatever it is, from the brain point of view, it is just the same cortisol, right? Cortisol, adrenaline. There are some chemicals which get in the brain, and you experience sadness, sorrow, pain, depression, all that, right? So that is also internal only.
But my physical pain, and if it goes only, my cortisol or the reaction is automatic, and I get rid of it only when I go and get my eyes treated or
not necessarily. See, because there also the body has a coping mechanism, right? Because suppose if you have a pain, initially there is a pain, and then after some time, the pain, that neurotransmitters start shutting down, because yes, now it has told you that there is a pain. So now they start even withdrawing. That is how all this, even this what do you call, the pain relief things, right? Like your Amritanjan and your Vicks and all, right? The way they work is very interesting, right? Like, so when you have a pain, you apply it, and that actually has this mint and those things which will create more pain, and they kind of overwhelm the system, so that the system shuts off the pain response, and that is how you stop feeling the pain. So the painkillers, or like the pain relief, the sprays and all, no, like they actually work by triggering more pain, that the brain sees that there is an avalanche of pain and it shuts down automatically. Then you stop feeling the pain. That is how they work. Okay, the way they work is, you can study it. So actually, like, everything is perception. And then, like, there are, like, of course you have a pain, and there are some pains which the body consider it as very important, and so it doesn't shut down till you actually do something about it. So these are basically given as a part of nature, so that we are able to protect the body, right? That is why people with diabetes, right, like when they don't feel the pain, if some stone pricks on their legs, they are not able to protect their feet, right? That is why they have to do it consciously, because the natural pain sensors are not working. Then you won't be able to protect that part of the body, right? So pain is given for that reason, right? And similarly, even pleasure is also given for that reason, like to be able to survive, to be able to protect. It's all a part of Mahamaya, right? The nature, Prakriti has given this. Now, understanding all these things, we should get over them, right? Knowing that, like, these are all just signals which are given, which are there as a part of the body, so that you are able to protect the body. Knowing this, we should say, okay, these are not for pursuits. These are basically given so that we are able to protect the body, right? Now, we have understanding this, we should not fall for them. We should not, unnecessarily pursue them beyond a reasonable amount, and focus our mind on what is really important, right?
I think my question is, the healthy body is required for me to have a healthy mind and then focus
Yes,
on meditation. That's the stepping stone. I
exactly.
cannot say that it doesn't matter. My body, whether I have toothache or not, I'll ignore my toothache. But I have to focus on
Yes,
keeping my
you
body
have to.
right, because Prakriti has given me something. So I have to keep it. And then my mind becomes healthy with a healthy body, not otherwise.
Yes, exactly. Right?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. See, basically, nature has given all these things so that we are able to protect the body, so that using a healthy body, as you said, we are able to go for higher pursuits. Now, if you pursue pleasure, then you are kind of defeating the very purpose of nature, right? Because nature has given pleasure so that by that you will be able to protect the body, then you can go for higher pursuits. But if pleasure itself becomes a pursuit, then you are actually betraying nature, and you are going against the current. There was this Viktor Frankl, right? He makes a very beautiful statement in his book, right? Man's Search for Meaning, right? It's a very, very beautiful book. All of you should read. If you don't read the full book also, there is the second part of the book, which is called Logotherapy, that you need to read. So in that, he makes a very beautiful statement where he says, people who don't have a purpose in life distract themselves with pursuit of pleasure. That is a statement he makes. People who don't have a purpose in life distract themselves with the pursuit of pleasure. That is a beautiful statement he makes. So, pursuit of pleasure is a distraction. Like, that is not the purpose of life, right? That we should understand.
Google, when you mentioned, the benefit of pain, in the sense like it is protecting me, I'm getting alerted and all. But then what is the benefit of pleasure? Why should nature would have given me the pleasure part?
Same thing, like to make you eat food, it has given the taste for food, right? So basically, like, and then you keep working, you might kill yourself by overworking. So it has said, okay, you sleep, and it has given you the pleasure of sleep, right? So in fact, like, a lot of experiments have been done on mice, where if they remove the pleasure part, right, the what they call as the reward center in the brain, if they remove it, then they are not able to control their work. Like, suppose if it does something, it keep on doing it, and finally it dies, right? So if the pleasure aspect is removed, they have found that animals are not able to preserve their life. They are not able to protect themselves. They don't know when to stop, when to do this, right? Like, so if the reward center related to food is removed, the animal is no longer interested in eating food at all, and it dies out of hunger. So like that, like, there have been proven experiments on how the pleasure centers, the purpose of the pleasure centers is to protect the body. There has been a lot of experiments which has been done, and it has been proven.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, I think Savitriji, you had a question. Yes, Ajay. Yeah.
If there isn't anyone, I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking. I didn't realize. Sorry. Go ahead, and then I'll do.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, Gokulji, what I was asking was, in sleep, our mind is resolved, and you have a certain ananda. You experience ananda. In meditation, the mind is channelized, and it's one stream of thought. Then also there's ananda, but the purpose of this is more to get clarity that you're able to get to the next. There's a big difference between the two, right? One, it is resolved, and it's blankness. So there is no thought at all, and there's no mind in some sense. It's resolved into the karma shaktam, and that's all is there. Whereas in meditation, it's directed, and you're pursuing a thought and building on it, and that will help you in some way of introspection process for you to get clarity that is
Yes.
useful for you to build on to the next step, right? So there is a
Yes,
distinction.
exactly. Yeah. So that is the ananda is not the goal.
Yes.
Okay. The ananda which you get out of meditation is not the goal. But that is a good starting point which will help you to get over Vishayananda. Okay. That's called the ananda which is got out of meditation is called Bhajanananda. So Bhajanananda is a good pursuit to help you to get out of Vishayananda, to reduce your external addictions and temptations. This helps. But then that is not the goal in itself. That is why, like in Mandukya Karika, right, like where Gaudapadacharya gives what are the problems of meditation, like what are the obstacles to meditation. One of the obstacle is rasaswada, right? The joy that you get out of meditation is one of the obstacles which prevents you from going further to spiritual knowledge. So this is only an intermediate step, right? So, but then you should not get hooked there.
Yeah.
Using that, you get over Vishayananda and then you pursue further, you go towards Atmananda, because Atmananda is the goal, not Bhajanananda. But Bhajanananda helps us to get over Vishayananda.
Yeah, I understand. Otherwise, a sleep itself would have given you that.
Exactly.
Right. So here it's like it not only it removes the clutter and makes you see a clean thing, but you have to be able to now get to what it is. Whereas in sleep, you just get, it's like blankness. Here it clears and shows, if you ponder on it, it shows you something more.
Yes.
Which is the goal.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ajay?
Can you elaborate a little bit more about the Nididhyasana in the sense that, for Vedantic inquiry, how should that be done, or is it similar?
So, see, basically there are two types of meditations. Okay. Meditation, as I told you, is a continuous flow of related thoughts as a pure mental activity. That is the definition of meditation. Now, there are two types of meditation. One is called Upasana, the other one is called Nididhyasana. Okay. Upasana is where you do a conscious superimposition. So, which is imagination, right? Like we say, right? You imagine a golden yellow light in the center of your heart, right? Imagine this, be aware of this. Like, those are all like the conscious superimposition, which is called Upasana. That is one type. The other type is called Nididhyasana, and Nididhyasana is just inquiry of who am I, right? Trying to figure out, trying to understand, trying to explore like the nature of I. You're not trying to superimpose. Now, if you say Aham Brahmasmi, then that becomes Upasana. That is not Nididhyasana, because you are already bringing in a concept. So if you are bringing in a ready-made second-hand concept, then that is Upasana. Whereas if you are digging to explore originally first-hand who am I, then that is Nididhyasana. Understood?
Yes, I think that helps. Are there any techniques to do that?
Yes, there are a lot of standard techniques for both.
Okay. I mean, may not have to spend time here, but if you think,
Yeah, like you can, I think even Sarvapriyanji's so many talks are there. Then what I suggest is there is Swami Tadatmananda, okay, in Berkeley. He has got a YouTube channel and he has got one playlist on meditation. That is a very beautiful one. He's also written a book on meditation. So far, that is the best book on meditation I have come across. Swami Tadatmananda. Right?
Yes.
You can search on Amazon. The book is available, and the same book he has put it into a video series format also on his YouTube channel. So you can go through that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. If you want one solid guided meditation course, online course, I would highly recommend Swami Tadatmananji's course. He is from Arshavidya Gurukulam. He is a disciple of Swami Dayananda Saraswati.
Yes, I remember him. I have done one retreat in Poconos with him long back.
Oh, okay. Good.
And then one New Jersey. So yeah, that was just amazing.
Yeah. So he is very good. And his book is also good. If you want to buy one book on meditation, I would suggest his book. Right. And of course, the book on meditation by the monks of Ramakrishna order, which is there, published by Ramakrishna Mission, that is also there. And there's a small booklet by Swami Harshanandji, guideline for on guided meditation. That is a very, very small booklet, which is also good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Gokulji, I have a question.
Hmm.
So when I have so many thoughts and all that, for channelizing, I will have to really calm down. I have to continuously think about it. So then I channelize. How does nature give me sleep when I'm having so many thoughts? Sometimes I don't get sleep, but how does it manage this? So many things are there which I have to do in life, and I have so much of ambition. It's able to resolve. I'm able to dissolve my mind and get into sleep, because sometimes I don't get sleep. If I'm able to crack that, then I can at least, even with all the thoughts, I can sleep, right? So what does nature do? Like, even with all the thoughts, it's able to put human being into the deep sleep, and sometimes it doesn't happen. So what is that code?
Yeah. See, one is nature for deep sleep, of course, like, when your body becomes tired beyond an extent, right? Automatically the brain shuts off, right? And then you get into sleep. Now, the question is how to do meditation. Gita has beautiful instructions, right? We will see some of the shlokas of the Gita, where Gita says how to address all these things. What are the distractions and what do you get distracted about? And Gita takes each distraction one by one, and it thoroughly tells you how to resolve that, how to analyze that. Gita is like, 6th chapter is beautiful. Like, it answers all the questions of, like, how to get into the meditation. So we will see, like, as we study the shlokas, like, we will go through it one by one.
Thanks, Gokul.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir.
Yes.
Is that the Kundalini Shakti and the meditation are one and the same, or it is a step to be followed to attain that, to raise this Kundalini Shakti?
Yeah, good question. So, see, now that, basically, like, we need to, most of the people, we have kind of tied down to the body consciousness, right? And most of the pursuits are basically just to protect the body, and protection, procreation, right? Then eating, hunger. Now, what we call as Kundalini Shakti is nothing but it's a systematized way of presenting all these pursuits. Okay. And as we go higher and higher, as our pursuits become higher and higher, automatically the Kundalini, whatever, right, will go up. That is, we don't need to focus on that. Okay. So now there is this Kundalini yoga, like the Hatha yoga, where a person under the close guidance of a guru directly works with that part of the mind. Like, it's basically a part of the mind only, right? And then the guru guides the person through various meditations and all that to elevate the mind higher and higher, and to completely to make it free from all all the lower pursuits. Now, the same thing will happen when we follow Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, as mentioned in the Gita. And the same thing even through bhakti also the same thing, right? So whatever we call as Panchakosha in Vedanta is the same as the Shat Chakra, what is mentioned in the this thing, Hatha Yoga Pradipika and the Shat Chakra Nirupana and the Granda Samhita, these books. And it is the same as in Bhagavatam, it comes as the 7 lokas, right? Like Bhur, Bhuva, Suvaha, like it's all the same, right? Just the language is different, right? And as a person progresses in through any one of the ways, automatically the progress will happen on the other things also. So like it's all different. The language is different, but the concept is the same, right? One Bhagavatam might call it as 7 lokas, and Vedanta will call it as Panchakosha, and the Shat Chakra Nirupana will call it as the 6 chakras. Now, as you progress in one, like you automatically progress everywhere, because it's basically like different ways of explaining the same thing. So we don't need to explicitly go and pursue that, because that is a tricky science in itself. Like it needs living with the guru, and it needs close guidance of the guru and all that. So we don't need to worry about it. So follow whatever procedure, whatever like your guru has taught you, and automatically everything will be taken care of. You don't need to worry.
Thank you, sir.
Gokul, here when you mentioned this, that all these different paths, they're basically all talking about the same thing with different names and all. See, when you read autobiography of Yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda, he talks about Kriya Yoga, right, which Mahavatar Babaji ultimately brought down to him. And it is also said that this Kriya Yoga is also termed as an airplane yoga. I mean, it takes you much faster to the goal than other regular traditional methods. So, what do you think about it? And whether Kriya Yoga is mentioned in Gita or not? The traditional Ramakrishna Math style is like, Bhakti, Gyan, Karma, and all. We don't speak about much of Kriya Yoga in Ramakrishna Math style. So, how do you actually relate to them? And why is it called airplane yoga?
See, suppose if you want to go from Chennai to Delhi, there are so many ways to go from Chennai to Delhi. Okay. One is you can take a train, right? Coromandel Express or Tamil Nadu Express, you can take, and you can go. It will take you 36 hours or so. Now, if you are willing to pay a higher price, right? If you are willing to pay a higher price, then you can, one second. Yeah. So if you are willing to pay a higher price, then yeah, you can take a flight, right? And you may reach faster, right? But then like it needs some certain amount of, you have to wait there, you have to go from here, so many checking, right? Like there'll be a lot of other complexities, prerequisites, right, before you go. Now, if you actually like than even a commercial airplane, I would say Kriya Yoga is more like your a high-speed supersonic military airplane, where you will be subject to 4G and forces and all that. So you have to be physically fit. Your body should be fit. You should have undergone a lot of training, right? Air Force training. Then your body will be fit to withstand the jet plane, which will go on, you'll be subject to all these 4G forces and all. And you can reach, but then you will need a lot of prerequisites, right? So preparations, so many things. And there are some paths where, which is still more faster, right? But still more, things like where it is something like you are put into the mouth of a cannon and the cannon is fired, and then you land up in Delhi, hopefully, right? So there are multiple ways, right? Now, the way which Gita suggests, right, which is also followed by the Ramakrishna mission, is like the highway, right? You have a 6-lane highway where you have an AC bus, right, where you are given masala dosa and all your food is also taken care of, and it is not too costly also, right? Not costly like the plane, so doesn't take you faster like the plane, but it is taken care of conveniently, right? So you have a nice like highway where you have an AC bus where you sit and you go, or you can take a train, AC train. So it is slow, but then doesn't require too much of prerequisites, right? It is not too much demanding on your body, and with lot of comfort you can reach. That is why it is called Rajavidya Rajaguhya, right? It is a royal path, like it is like the national highway, right? So Krishna calls it as Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, right? It is the royal national highway, which, yeah, it goes slowly, but it reaches surely, right? And safely.
So understood, Google. But is Kriya Yoga mentioned in Gita or in our old Upanishads and something? Or
See,
is something?
again, definitions, right? It's all about definitions, right? So Gita, there is a place where Gita calls us Kriya, right? And what they call as Kriya Yoga, if you look at even the definition according to, because whatever the Kriya Yoga what we have is actually formulated by Lahiri Maheshaya, right? So if you see what Lahiri Maheshaya has done, like he has kind of designed it in such a way that it combines various things. And more than that, see, the Guru Parampara is what is important, okay? So there is every system, the Guru Parampara is there, right? So if you pick up a book on Kriya Yoga and if you start taking it and then practicing it, you will not get results, okay? You need to have a connection with the Guru Parampara, which is connected to Lahiri Maheshaya and Sri Guru Babaji or Mahavatar Babaji, as you say, right? So it has to go through the Guru Parampara, or somehow it has to be connected by a Guru Parampara. Without that, it will not work. Okay. So you might read a book and you might practice, but it will not work. It might even harm you if you don't belong to that Guru Parampara. That is important. So being a part of Guru Parampara is important. So all theory, everything is there. But then after that, you have to go and you have to subscribe to some parampara and then pick it up. You need a guru. Then only it will work.
Understood.
Yeah.
Gokul just wanted to add a comment, or at least a perspective is all of these different parts are only for us to get more chitta shuddhi, right? At the end of the day, the final path is only the jnanam that you have to get, and hence we don't have to be so caught up on the means, right? Sometimes people feel, oh, should I learn this Kundalini yoga? But they are not important. All of them are just means for you to get your mind as ekagrita, so that you can absorb finally the truth. So, and hence these are not that important or critical. It is just that if Karma Yoga and, like you said, Upasana Yoga, going those means, even those are all steps for us to get to that. So it's a preparatory ground, and any one of these means, they have multiple paths, but the final one is just one path. There are no multiple paths, right?
Yeah, the goal is the same, right? And they all take you there. And as you said, like, stick to your path. There are multiple paths and different paths for different people, right? So whichever path you are convinced about, right? Whichever path you are already there, that is also there. It is easier to continue, right, than getting distracted with so many other paths. Like, every path has got its own pluses and minuses and all that, right? And so as you said, the crux is you need to purify your mind and you need to stabilize your mind, and that is done by so many other ways. And once it is, so what Gita gives, right, is this shloka, the 6th shloka, 12th chapter I told you. Etu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. This is what is Gita's Raja Yoga. Whatever Gita says as its prescribed path, right? Do your duty as offering to the Lord and meditate upon the Lord. And that is exactly what Ramakrishna Mission also follows, right? Atmano mokshartam jagat hitayacha. The same shloka is what is put it in, Swamiji has coined it in his words, right? So this is what is the Gita's prescribed way. Okay. Now, there are other ways, other paths, which partially Gita also touches upon, right? So, for example, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, right? Gita touches upon that also, right? As Bhoktaram, Yajna Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, right? Like, so basically, Gita also like Patram, Pushpam, Palam, Toyam. So it touches upon so many other paths also, right? It talks about pranayama, it talks about the 8th chapter, it talks about like meditation upon the heart, like this, and then giving up the body through the Brahmarandara, like so many other things are also talked about in the Gita. And sometimes as just because Arjuna asked a question, Krishna talks about it, or sometimes just for the sake of completion. But then if you look at what is the core path, core prescription of the Gita, that is very, very clear, right? So the 9th chapter gives it in detail, 12th chapter gives it in detail, right? So what Gita's way is very clear. It is basically do your duty, right? Serve the living beings as service to the Lord and meditate upon the Lord, right? So that is the Gita's recommended way. It also talks about other things also. But then what is recommended is, this is what is recommended. And that core is what Ramakrishna Math has stuck to, right? Vivekananda, like, he kind of keeps on emphasizing like Shivajnane Jiva Seva, right? Serve the Jivas, seeing the Lord in them. In fact, in one place, Vivekananda says, there is no other God other than the sum total of all Jivas, right? There is no other God other than the sum total of all Jivas. Serving the Jivas is the way to serve God. There is no other way. So Vivekananda is so emphatic on that, and that is completely rooted in the Gita's ideas.
Yeah, the reason I also felt that the difference is important to highlight, because for us to get stuck in the other state, if you go through only a physical process or something, you might get stuck in that rasa much more than when it is rooted saying, say, at the end of the day, all of these jivas are same, because it finally relates to the ultimate goal. Whereas there, yes, it can be taken to ultimate goal, but there's a higher probability where if you don't have a very competent guru that you're associated with, you might get stuck with the rasa that you get with that. That at least a distinction that I was able to see between the paths.
Yes. So the Gita's approach is the safest way, right? Gita, Krishna has given a very, very safe and might be slightly slower than other ways, but it is okay, right? At least you will safely reach the destination, right? Anyway, yeah. So and another thing is, like, the path is important in the sense that, like, we cannot say, oh, it's just a path, right? Because most of the time, like, and in fact, in the Gita, the way and the path are kind of integrated. Like, the goal and the way, right, is so closely integrated that you, right from the beginning, like, you get a taste of the goal also. So that is the beauty of the Gita path, right? Like, he says, the moment you step into the path, then you start enjoying the peace, right? So that way, you start getting a taste of the goal right from the beginning itself also, right? So that way, the goal and the way are kind of integrated in this Gita approach, and which is of course there in Bhakti also, right? Like it's an integrated approach of, you don't say, okay, this is a path and the goal is entirely different. Like, no, the goal and the path are kind of integrated that way. Like, you know, the journey itself is as important as the goal, right? As the destination. And you get a taste of the destination right through the journey itself. So that way it is, it's a very integrated approach. Good. So, I think we have kind of, time-wise, we have reached there. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So, at least I think a couple of more slides we'll quickly go through, and then we will break for the day, right? So let me share the screen again, and okay. So we saw the procedure, right, for meditation, and the meditation process, probably, like, we will see if we have, I think most of you anyway have been a part of some tradition or the other, so you will be familiar with the meditation process, right? So whatever has been taught to you by your guru, like, that is the more important than anything else which you pick up from anywhere else. Okay, so in general, every meditation process is starts with physical, verbal, then you wish well to everyone, show your gratitude, then you go for the mental part, which can be either, as I told you, mentally chanting a mantra, or Leela Dhyana, or Manasa Puja, or Pratika Dhyana, where, like, you imagine a light, or it can be Pratima Dhyana, where you imagine a form of the Lord, or like in case of Manasa Puja, right? And Japa, right? Repeating the mantra or nama mentally. And after that, you again thank God, and then you get up. So, and one thing which you need to remember is, it is the nature of the mind to wander. The mind will wander. Whenever the mind wanders, bring it back gently and firmly, and with no regret, right? Don't say, oh, I'm not able to meditate, I'm not able to concentrate, my mind wanders. Don't worry. Whenever the mind wanders, bring it back. That is a part of the process itself. So you don't need to worry about, don't worry too much, right? Follow the procedure, that is more important, right? And the expected outcomes, what will you get out of meditation, right? So let us discuss this. So you will develop deep love for God and living beings, and you will develop deeper understanding of the truth, and your mind will become free from hankering after pleasure, right? As I told you, like, once you discover that you get happiness within, that will loosen up your hold on to external sources of pleasure. And then it will reduce the expectation and attachment to people, objects, and situations, right? Because basically you become independent of expectations. And also it will give you a lot of enthusiasm and resilience in life, right? You'll be able to face the ups and downs of life with much more poise, right? You'll have greater capacity to face the adversities of life, and it will reduce the desire, greed, anger, jealousy, fear, sorrow, confusion, anxiety. All these things will reduce, right? The Shat Ripu, what Sri Ramakrishna mentions, right? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, the 6 enemies, right? The Ram Prasad song, it talks about the 6 enemies, right? So all those things will reduce, right? Their influence will reduce, right? So this is what is the expected outcome. Paramathanji puts in a very nice way, right? FIR reduction, he calls, right? the frequency, intensity, and recovery time of the bouts of these will come down. Right? Frequency, intensity, and recovery time of anger, greed, jealousy, all these things will reduce. So this is what is the expected outcome of meditation. Okay. So I think we will stop here for today, and tomorrow we will go through some of the selected shlokas from the Gita. Right? Beautiful shlokas in 6th chapter are there, which we will go through. Any questions before we sign off? Okay, so we'll chant Priyatam. Okay, sorry, I think probably I didn't turn off the. So, any questions? Anyone? Okay, yeah. So we'll chant Priyatam and we will end. Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayajneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Stushte Jagat Tushtam Prinite Prinitam Jagat Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.